Giselle.
And I'm Jasmine.
Today we are going to introduce our project of depression. Depression is a mental health disorder characterized by um, persistently low mood and impairment in daily life. It is a very common disease. There are over 3 million cases per year in the U.S. However, it is a treatable disease with help from medical professionals. Here's a video we found to introduce more about depression, and we'll play the first minutes of it.
There's no sound though. I'll just put on the subtitle so you can read from the subtitle. Yeah, there's no sound. Sorry about that.
And those sad feelings disappear. Clinical depression is different. It's a medical disorder, and it won't go away just because you want it to. It lingers for at least 2 consecutive weeks and significantly interferes with one's ability to work, play, or love. Depression can have a lot of...
Okay, so that's a brief introduction of depression, yeah. And okay. So in order to have a better understanding of depression, we also scheduled an interview with Ms. Tiffnan, who is a counselor in our school. And the first question we asked her was the approximate number of students who came to the counseling office to ask for help for depression. And she gave us the answer of over half of the ongoing current student body every year goes to her office for help. And she also provided us a statistic from last year, which is 166 students went to the counseling office last year, and about 1/3 of these people had presented symptoms of depression. And the next problem is we asked her if depression is a treatable disease. And she gave us an answer of an exact yes. And she also said depression started with minimum 2 weeks long episodes with related symptoms, which we'll talk about later. However, depression could relapse even though it is treatable. And next one is we asked if there's some more serious symptoms presented when people come, and we divide the symptoms into 2 categories: the mental side and the physical side. So the mental side includes symptoms of a thought of no one understanding oneself and thinking everything bothers them, and a higher probability of being annoyed or being hopeless, hard time focusing, or even worse is suicidal thoughts. And on the physical side, one can isolate themselves, or they can experience tiredness, sleeping problems, or physical complaints. And Ms. Tiffnan also mentioned that these symptoms happen in progression instead of just happening all at once. And the most common factors for depression, first of all, is genetics, which we will talk about later, and we did more research on it. And the second one is self-experience, which may include a trigger in one's life or disappointment of oneself. And at last, one's personality is also another common factor for depression. Yeah. And the next question was, in order to do some more research, we asked if she can provide us some other information about depression. And then she said we can focus on acupuncture, CBT treatment, and medication treatment for depression. Yeah. And so we will also talk more about CBT treatment and medication later on. Yeah. And then we started our research based on the information we got from the interview.
Based on the interview and the information from the internet, the symptoms of depression can be categorized into mental symptoms and physical symptoms. Mental symptoms can be a lot, such as feeling sad, restless, hopeless, and feeling of guilt and worthless. And also, if you have depression, you might lose interest in the thing you normally like. For example, you used to like listen to music, and you'll find music can't attract you anymore. And also, sleep disturbance include drowsiness and insomnia. Sleeping too much or too less are both symptoms of depression. And also trouble to concentrate. You might the depression patients might find themselves can have trouble to think or to concentrate on their work or to remember things. Then prolonged tiredness. In the symptom of depression, the patient might feel loss of energy. And also, depression can change in physical. The physical symptoms include physical pain such as headache and back pain. Also depression cause changing brain. The change includes smaller frontal lobes, abnormal transmission, decreased neurotransmitter, and hormone abnormality. What is more, depression there's a lot of side effects come with depression. The people who have depression are more likely to have alcohol addiction and experience a problem come with alcohol abuse, such as blackout or anxiety. And also, depression is a major risk factor for suicide. And, although depression is a treatable disease, it has high probability to relapse.
And so, depression actually doesn't have a single cause by itself, and there we actually then divide the cause into two separate groups again, which is psychological and physical. On the psychological side, like I said before, personality is one major factor of the cause. Some people are more at risk of depression because of their personality, particularly if they have a tendency to worry a lot, have low self-esteem, have sensitive sense to personal criticism, or when they are perfectionist or are self-critical and negative. There's only one example for the psychological side. However, there's more examples on the physical causes. One of them is family history. Depression can run in one's family, and some people will be at an increased genetic risk, like I said before. And having a parent or a close relative with depression doesn't mean you will get depression as well. So it really just depends on the environment and, like I said, personality. And another cause is serious medical illness, in which the stress and worry of coping with a serious illness can really cause someone to actually have depression. And especially if one is dealing with long-term management and chronic pain. Another special example is drug or alcohol use, like I said before. It can lead to or result from depression, so it's like a two-side cause. And yeah, and there's actually connection with biology between biology and depression. So genetics is one really big topic, which I mentioned a lot before. Some people carry genes that increase their risk of depression, but not all people with depression have these genes, and not all people with these genes have depression. Actually, one genetic variant doesn't cause depression, but multiple genetic factors with environmental factors are likely necessary for the development of depression. And also, twins also increase the risk of having depression, which is really shocking. And twin studies suggest a heritability of 40% to 50% of depression in both individuals, so both of them might get depression. And the last one is family studies, and family studies indicate a twofold to threefold increase in lifetime risk of developing depression among first-degree relatives. However, although there's some linker studies in depression nowadays, findings have still been inconsistent, and no established universal genetic risk factors or causative gene for depression has been identified. So there's not much we know about it. So there's just a little, there's only 3 topics that we can find. And the next one is the related disease with depression. We divide them into the mental side and the physical sides. The mental diseases include anxiety disorders, panic disorders, schizophrenia, right there. It's there because I don't know how to pronounce it, so I just write it down for you guys to, yeah. And obsessive compulsive disorder. And on the other hand, the physical disease includes anorexia, eating disorders, substance abuse, and social phobia. So those are some major related diseases. And there's actually different types of depression that happens. So the first type is major depressive disorder, or so-called major depression. The symptoms of this kind of depression are disabling, and it actually interfere with one's everyday activities. And there's only one, people with this depression only experience one episode in their entire life. And yeah, that's the symptoms of major depression. And then the next one is dysthymia. Yeah. And it is a kind of mild and chronic depression. And the symptoms of this depression is longer. It's usually 2 years or more. Yeah. And it is less severe than major depression. And the next one is minor depression. It's less severe than dysthymia and major depression, but people with minor depression could have a higher risk to develop into major depression if they don't get treatment. And the most severe kind of depression is psychotic depression. It is usually accompanied by some form of psychosis, such as hallucinations. Yeah. And the last kind, this is a special kind, a seasonal affective disorder. So this kind of disorder begins during the winter, and lifts during the spring and summer, which is like really special. And we also found statistics for depression. The first one is it is estimated that 10% to 15% of the general population will experience depression during their lifetimes, and 5% of men and 9% of women will experience a depressive disorder in a given year. And this is according to World Health Organization. And the second one is lesser than 1/3 of total people who suffer from depression actually get their treatment, like get proper treatment. And third, lifetime prevalence has been estimated at 16.2%, and risks for suicide are high. Yeah.
And there are a lot of celebrities who suffer from depression. For example, Van Gogh, he combated with depression for a long time and ended up his life with shooting himself. And
Okay. So this is some other examples of like people coping with depression. They are all like modern celebrities or like well-known people. So yeah, these people. And after researching all these information, we actually came up with a treatment process, especially for teenagers about depression. And first of all, we made a survey that's like a really short survey asking about how do they think, like to what extent do they think they're depressed and what symptoms they have. And yeah, it's just a really short survey that we made. And treatment.
Depression can be a very serious disease. However, there's still a lot of treatment for it. First, in order to have more effective results, the patient should learn as much as she or he can to know about the depression, and take time to find the right treatment for them. And also the treatment, we recommend the treatment, the psychological treatment. But the psychological treatment can only be suitable for the patient whose disease is not as severe. If the disease is too severe, they should combine psychological treatment with medication treatment. However, medication treatment can have a lot of side effects. If the patient relies heavily on the medication, it will be a problem. So it is not suitable for long-term use. So psychological treatment include talk therapy, and talk therapy requires the patient to talk to a professional, to a mental professional, and the patient will get some advice from the counselor, and that can relieve the depression. And CBT, the cognitive behavioral therapy, is the most common therapy in talk therapy, and in
during the treatments, so basically a therapist helps you identify your negative or like any bad thoughts possibly lead to depression, and then they just try to improve your kind of thinking and just try to make you get rid of the bad ideas, so then it doesn't possibly change it into depression.
Yeah,
so that's what CBT is.
and the changing the soil can lead to the change in behavior. So the patient can change into a better situation. CBT treatment is also not suitable for the severe cases. The medical treatment include antidepressants, but rely heavily on the antidepressant will cause side effects such as anxiety, drowsiness, insomnia, or gain in weight, or loss of appetite, and so on. And among the antidepressants, SSRIs is the most widely prescribed treatment in a lot of different countries. The SSRIs increase the extracellular level of the neurotransmitter, especially transmitter by limiting its reuptake into presynaptic. And also mindfulness meditation can be a good way for depression treatment. Meditation has a long history of use for increasing calmness and physical relaxing. It can make your body and your mind more balanced and relieve your anxiety from your daily life. And 2014 literature review suggests that mindfulness meditation program show the evidence of improving depression.
Yeah, so that's the treatment we found. And we also thought despite treatments, communication with other people is also very important for someone who's suffering from depression. So it is important because you have to let people around you know your condition and then understand sometimes what your action means, that you might do something to them that's like make them feel uncomfortable, but you have to let them know about your condition. So yeah, and on the teenagers case, we think communication with parents is very important, in which parents have a better resource and they have more experience to help you cope with depression. So yeah, that's how we think of treating depression should be. So that's it. Thank you. Does anyone?
One thing they did well and one thing they need to work on?
Yeah,
I think you should, you guys kind of talk to the same party the whole time. There's a lot of talking. But I think maybe it's something else like in the middle, like, I don't know. So there's a lot of like talking.
yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, Roberto.
I'm not sure if like this is your template or your presentation, but like after like the first 30 seconds, I know like a lot of us like were really like drawn out and we just like kind of lost attention. So like if there's any way 30. And I said like if anyone like if there's any way for us to like for you guys to like bring us back into the thing every once in a while, because it's really long, it's really informative, but like if there's any way to like bring us back into it and make it more engage the audience more, I think it would really benefit you.
Okay.
From 23-21 was the end, so that was the time.